Coming up on Network Africa. Russian soldier reportedly killed in Mali. Italy signs gas deal with Angola in a bid to boycott Russia. Plus, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa calls for an end to Ukraine war following phone call with his Ukrainian counterpart. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Tenyola Shiboale. We begin in Mali, where a Russian soldier has reportedly been killed in Hombori in the country's central Mopti region. According to a military memo, a Russian advisor had struck an improvised explosive device and died after being airlifted to a hospital in the central town of Sevare. It marks the first confirmed death of what in Mali are officially described as Russian military instructors. Mali's military rulers have repeatedly denied the presence of mercenaries from Russia's paramilitary company, Wagner, to assist in its counter-insurgency operations. Meanwhile, the United Nations has accused authorities in Mali of preventing its human rights investigators access to a village where hundreds of people were killed. Malian troops and their Russian collaborators are accused of carrying out a massacre of hundreds of civilians during the operation against militants last month. Mali claims those killed were jihadists, while Russia has denied being involved in the operation. At least 300 people are believed to have been executed last month during the raid in the village of Moura, which is in Mali's central Mopti region. The killing sparked calls by the Human Rights Watch, the US, the EU, and the UN for an independent investigation into the matter. And more on relations with Russia. Cameroon has signed an agreement with Moscow for military cooperation. According to security sources, this agreement is part of the continuation of military ties between the two countries for several years, with the emphasis recently on the revision of the military deals signed in 2015. In a 13-page document, the two countries agreed to exchange opinions and information on defense policies and international security, development of relations in the areas of joint training and medicine. They also agreed to exchange experiences and interaction in peace support operations under the aegis of the United Nations. Two other stories. Italy has signed an agreement to increase natural gas imports from Angola in a bid to reduce its dependence on Russian energy in response to the country's invasion of Ukraine. The two nations agreed to develop new activities in the natural gas sector and implement joint projects to help with the energy transition and decarbonization of Angola. According to reports, the joint energy projects would involve renewables and liquefied natural gas. Italy also recently signed deals with Algeria and Egypt amid European countries' efforts to secure alternative sources to Russian supplies. International financial analyst Opeoluwa Dapo Thomas joins us now for more on this. Thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa.
Yes, thank you very much.
So what do you make of this deal between Italy and Angola? It's a big deal for both countries, right?
Oh, yes, it's a big deal for both countries. First, for Italy, as they are finding a way to secure their energy future. This is the third country, African country they are dealing with when it comes to gas. They already have deals with Algeria, Egypt, and now with Angola, and a potential for Congo, Brazzaville. It's a very, very good deal for them. But the biggest winners are Angola, because Angola is a small natural gas producer. Last year, they were discussing on how they can commercialize their natural gas resources. And so this basically is just out of pocket. They didn't expect like this is the equivalent of when you want to do your laundry and you find cash in your pockets, because this is clean money coming in, new money coming in from an event that basically they have no idea of. I mean, the Russia-Ukraine war is a very, very, very terrible, tragic event, but they have found a way to profit from it and to gain revenue from this. So yeah, Angola are one of the biggest winners from this whole transaction.
And it's quite clear that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is forcing Europe to diversify its energy supply. This, like you mentioned, is Italy's third deal with an African country since the invasion. But can African gas replace Russian supplies to Europe, especially in the time frame of less than 2 years that many EU countries have proposed?
Well, 2 years is a bit short because there are two things that are actually going to hold these things from going through. One, we have investment restraint and we have infrastructural constraints. Now, the infrastructure to move natural gas can only move in two ways: pipelines, or rather they could ship it through water. But everyone prefers pipeline method because that's the easiest and what would I call it, is the less dangerous method. Because when you have to move it through water, you are going to have to liquefy it, and obviously that offsets the benefits of climate change. So most people prefer not to move it through water, but to move it through pipeline, you have to run pipes. We have to run pipelines. So Russia they just constructed the Nord Stream 2 that they have been constructing since maybe 2012 to Germany. Right now, the pipeline is abandoned and not used because of the war that is going on. But that pipeline cost $11 billion. So where will African countries see the infrastructure to, the investments to build this infrastructure? So they need to partner with European countries. And when they're partnering with European countries, they have to find a way to secure funding based on the contracts, because obviously you wouldn't want to run a pipeline that you would not use eventually. So they have to find a way to secure funding and secure contracts with European countries, like the way Qatar has secured contracts with Asia. I mean, everyone now is looking for Qatar to replace Russian gas, but Qatar has found a way to say, sorry, we can't really do that because we already supply to Asia and we don't want to pay any sort of compensation to our Asian buyers and just divert our LNG to your country. So, but the truth is, if you look at the data, Africa has actually improved their shipments or their LNG exports to Europe. I mean, it's more than any other country. But Europe, we have to know what we're talking about statistically. Russia supplies 40% of European gas. So to take that off and to replace that in 2 years without the infrastructure and the investment is going to be a long order.
And Opeoluwa, with the market open and, there's opportunity now, how else can African countries, especially for us here in Nigeria, take advantage of this and overcome the current challenges?
Well, like I said in the other question, two things are just holding us back: investment and infrastructure. And this is quite more likely sad for Nigeria, because in terms of reserves, Nigeria is one of the top 10 gas producers in the world. But I mean, how many people are we supplying gas to? So we have the excess capacity, but we don't have the infrastructure. In fact, geographically, we should be the ones supplying to Italy, because if we want to take out gas from Nigeria, all we just have to do is take a pipeline and send that from the northernmost part of the country all the way to Niger Republic, all the way to either Morocco or Egypt. I know there are talks between Morocco and Egypt, obviously, because we're trying to build two pipelines and that will cross through this trans-Saharan area. But I mean, Angola is far away from Italy than Nigeria. So how is Angola getting this deal? How is Congo getting this deal before Nigeria when we produce more than them? The only country that produces more than Nigeria is Algeria. But in terms of reserves, no country comes close to Nigeria. So we've not found a way to harness our natural gas reserves. And this is where we've lost out loads of money. I mean, this was a good opportunity for Nigeria to find a way to finally move away from our oil. So if you're looking at it from that way, there's a lot of things that we need to do. But like I said, the first thing is to go and secure financing and to secure agreements with European countries and say, okay, see, we have this gas. If we are going to invest in our gas, you have to assure us that we will supply you for the long term. This is not just a short term. Don't use us and then you go and settle with Russia maybe in a year's time, and then we have set up these pipelines and then everything has come to waste, or everything was an effort in futility. But like I said, it's quite counterproductive that we've had these reserves for a while, but we've not done anything in terms of infrastructure and the pipeline logistics to fix it. It's a big thing. I mean, $11 billion was the cost of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We could have afforded that if you look at all the amount we have wasted, or we have stolen, or the government has stolen, or people have even stolen from our oil resources. And almost, even if you add all the subsidy payments we've made, we could have built a pipeline pipeline. And like I said, I know there are talks about building 2 right now, but in the short term, we can't really do anything about it. We just need to ramp up the investment.
All right, then, international financial analyst Okweoluwa Dapo Thomas, thank you so much for your thoughts and analysis on the program.
Thank you very much.
Over in Ethiopia, drawn by rumors on social media, young men and old, many with their military records in hand, have gathered outside the Russian embassy in the capital, Addis Ababa, with hopes of fighting for Moscow in Ukraine. Despite the Russian embassy denying recruiting Ethiopian fighters, Ethiopian men continue to gather in a bid to volunteer.
Social media rumor of a $2,000 payment to join the Russian military and the possibility of work in Russia after the war inspired some Ethiopian men to queue up outside the Russian embassy in Addis Ababa. Many parts of Ethiopia are ridden by conflict and annual inflation hovers around 30%. So many here say they are eager to leave the country.
Inflation is rising day by day. Life is very hard here. So I am willing to leave Ethiopia to support the Russian government in whatever way I can. I want to go and fight along Russians.
The reason I want to go to Russia is not because I want to fight Ukraine, but it is because I am not benefiting from my country.
The rumor followed news reports in March that Russian President Vladimir Putin had given the green light for up to 16,000 volunteers from the Middle East to be deployed alongside Russian-backed rebels to fight in Ukraine. The Russian embassy issued a statement on Tuesday saying that it's not recruiting fighters and that Ethiopians who showed up outside were well-wishers expressing solidarity and support for the Russian Federation. Ethiopia has called on all sides in the war to exercise restraint and did not vote on a UN General Assembly resolution condemning the February 24 invasion of Ukraine, which Russia calls a special military operation to demilitarize the country. But many in Ethiopia voiced solidarity with Russia, which has enjoyed close relations with the Horn of Africa nation since the Soviet era.
And now South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has given some details about the telephone conversation he had with his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, over the war in Ukraine. He says they both agreed on the need for a negotiated end to the conflict, which has impacted Ukraine's place in global supply chains. He also revealed in a tweet that President Zelensky anticipates closer relations with Africa in the future. On his part, President Zelensky tweeted that the pair talked about Ukraine's resistance to the invasion by Russian troops. He also says they discussed about relations between the two countries and cooperation within international organizations. The Ukrainian president has been reaching out to global leaders and regional blocs to solicit world support. South Africa was among 17 African nations that abstained from voting on a United Nations resolution that demanded an end to the Russian offensive in Ukraine. And away from the war in Ukraine, the Chinese embassy in South Africa has donated R1 million towards the flood relief efforts. The Chinese ambassador says the donation is part of China's efforts to support South African people affected by the disaster in KwaZulu-Natal province. However, there's been some criticism, with South Africans taken to social media to complain about how small the donation is. More than 450 people have died in the devastating floods. Infrastructure has been destroyed in several parts of the province, and the government has declared a nationwide state of disaster. While reacting to the donation, South Africa's Minister of Social Development praised China for its continued support and cooperation with South Africa.
President Xi Jinping sent condolence message to the President Ramaphosa. President Xi expressed on behalf of the Chinese government and Chinese people the deep condolence and sympathy to all South African people are affected by disaster. In the face of major natural disaster, China and South Africa has always stood by and fought together with each other. That is our good tradition. It's also a reflection of our friendship. So today's handover is part of our efforts for supporting South African people are affected by the disaster.
We are in partnership with the Republic of China, and we want to see what China always talks about, and in particular President Xi Jinping talks about a win-win situation. A win-win situation is when two nations get together and they discuss at the level of being equal to each other, irrespective of the size of the economy and all that. We are good partners, and the prosperity of our peoples is very important.
It's still to come on the program.
And train others so that they too can be economically empowered.
The cost of solar power has fallen by more than 3/4 globally over the past decade. Experts say the success of the Sitolo solar mini-grid project shows that centralized grid systems are not Africa's only route towards low-carbon power.
And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shabuale. Bye for now.